Welcome to 7 Days Report, your reliable source of information from all major news from around the world. I'm your host, Vasilios Nikolaos Vitsilogiannis. Every weekend at 12 and 21, we bring you the latest headlines, in-depth analysis, and insightful commentary on the stories that matter most. Whether you're tuning in for a recap of the week or looking for a deeper understanding of global events, we've got you covered. Let's start with our first news. President Donald Trump reaffirmed Monday that the Gaza ceasefire remains in effect, despite renewed accusations between Israel and Hamas of violations. The agreement, intended to halt weeks of intense fighting and humanitarian suffering, faces critical tests as both sides trade blame over breaches. Since the ceasefire was brokered last week, tensions have remained high. Israel claims militants from Hamas have carried out rocket attacks on southern towns, while Hamas accuses Israeli forces of continued airstrikes and incursions into Gaza. These conflicting reports risk unraveling the fragile peace, raising concerns among international observers. In a brief statement from the White House, President Trump emphasized the importance of maintaining the ceasefire to protect civilian lives and allow humanitarian aid into the region. The ceasefire is still in place, he declared, urging both parties to respect the agreement and avoid actions that could escalate violence again. The president's remarks come as U.S. and regional diplomats work behind the scenes to solidify the tenuous truce and push for a long-term resolution. Humanitarian agencies continue to warn of worsening conditions in Gaza, where infrastructure damage and shortages of essentials pose a dire threat. Analysts say the situation remains unpredictable, with the ceasefire's durability hinging on the ability of Israel and Hamas to exercise restraint. The international community stays alert, urging renewed dialogue to prevent a return to full-scale conflict. President Trump's reassurance signals continued U.S. engagement in the delicate peace process amid volatile developments on the ground. In a groundbreaking moment for Japanese politics, hardline conservative Sanae Takaichi was elected Japan's first female leader. The announcement, made late Monday evening, marks a significant shift in Japan's traditionally male-dominated political landscape. Takaichi, long known for her staunch conservative views and strong nationalist stance, won a decisive victory in the leadership race of the ruling Liberal Democratic Party, LDP. She secured broad support from both party members and grassroots conservatives, emphasizing policies centered on national security, economic revitalization, and traditional cultural values. Her ascent to the top leadership post is historic, breaking a glass ceiling in a country where women have struggled for decades to achieve high political office. Takaichi's victory comes amid ongoing debates about Japan's demographic challenges and its evolving role on the global stage. Critics point to her hardline positions, including a cautious approach toward constitutional revision and a tough stance on regional security threats, as potential sources of controversy. However, supporters hail her as a decisive leader capable of steering Japan through turbulent international waters and domestic economic uncertainties. As Japan's first woman at the helm of the LDP and the Japanese government, Takaichi faces high expectations to deliver on her promises of strengthening Japan's defense, stimulating growth, and reinforcing traditional family values. Her leadership is expected to reshape Japan's political dynamics and inspire wider discussions on gender roles within the nation. Sanae Takaichi's historic election not only paves the way for greater female representation, but also signals a new chapter in Japan's conservative political era. The European Commission has proposed easing the enforcement mechanisms of the EU's anti-deforestation law, aiming to balance environmental goals with economic concerns raised by industry stakeholders. The original regulation, introduced in 2023, seeks to block the import of commodities linked to deforestation, including palm oil, coffee, soy, and beef, as part of the EU's commitment to combat global forest loss. Under the current law, companies must conduct strict due diligence to verify that their supply chains do not contribute to deforestation, facing penalties for non-compliance. However, various sectors have argued that the requirements are too rigid and costly, limiting trade and destabilizing supplier relationships, especially with producers in developing countries. The Commission's new proposal intends to soften certain provisions, allowing more flexibility in traceability deadlines and permitting risk-based approaches for companies with established sustainable sourcing histories. Officials emphasize this adjustment will maintain the law's core environmental objectives while supporting economic stability and international cooperation. Environmental groups express concern that the changes could weaken protections and undermine progress against deforestation, urging the Commission to uphold stringent standards. Conversely, business representatives welcome the move as a pragmatic step that ensures continued commitment without disproportionate burdens. This revision will now go to the European Parliament and Council for approval. The outcome will significantly shape the EU's role in global efforts against deforestation and influence how trade and sustainability intersect in the coming years. Stakeholders await the forthcoming debates, emphasizing the delicate balance between preserving forests and fostering economic resilience. Argentine President Javier Milei is set to meet J.P. Morgan Chase CEO Jamie Dimon this week in a highly anticipated engagement that underscores Argentina's growing focus on strengthening ties with global financial institutions. The meeting, scheduled for Thursday, October 30th, 2025, will take place in New York City, where both leaders are expected to discuss avenues for economic collaboration and investment opportunities amid Argentina's ongoing efforts to stabilize its economy. President Milei, known for his libertarian economic views and commitment to sweeping reforms, aims to leverage this meeting to attract international investors and boost Argentina's financial credibility. Since taking office earlier in 2025, Milei has pursued aggressive policies to reduce government intervention and restore market confidence, which has caught the attention of major global banks. Jamie Dimon, as the head of one of the world's largest financial institutions, has expressed interest in supporting emerging market economies with significant growth potential. Discussions with Milei are anticipated to cover Argentina's economic reforms, debt restructuring progress, and the country's strategic plans to enhance its investment climate. Financial analysts view this meeting as a strategic milestone for Argentina, given the country's challenges with inflation and fiscal deficits. If successful, it could pave the way for increased foreign direct investment and partnerships with major U.S. financial firms, helping Argentina integrate more deeply into global capital markets. Both sides have kept details under wraps, but the meeting is widely seen as a key opportunity for Argentina to showcase its reform agenda and for J.P. Morgan to explore new investment frontiers in Latin America's third largest economy. The European Union has failed to reach an agreement on backing a proposal to use Russia's frozen assets for a loan to support Ukraine, despite reaffirming its strong commitment to backing Kiev amid the ongoing conflict. The plan, which aimed to tap into billions of euros worth of frozen Russian capital as a financial lifeline for Ukraine's war-torn economy, encountered significant political and legal hurdles among member states. EU officials cited concerns over the complex legal framework surrounding frozen Russian funds, potential diplomatic repercussions, and the need to maintain unity among the bloc's 27 nations. Several countries expressed reservations about setting precedents for confiscating sovereign assets without a clear international agreement. Despite the setback, the EU remained resolute in its commitment to Ukraine's sovereignty and reconstruction efforts. In a joint statement, EU leaders pledged to continue providing robust financial, humanitarian, and military support to Ukraine, emphasizing the bloc's unwavering solidarity against Russian aggression. The refusal to approve the frozen cash loan comes amid escalating conflict in eastern Ukraine, where Russian forces have intensified military operations. Kiev has repeatedly called on Western allies to find innovative ways to sustain its defense and rebuild its infrastructure devastated by months of war. The EU's challenge illustrates the complex balance between enforcing sanctions on Russia and navigating legal, political, and diplomatic constraints. Analysts suggest alternatives alternative mechanisms, such as increased direct funding and enhanced sanctions enforcement, will be prioritized to ensure Ukraine receives the crucial support it needs going forward. The bloc's leaders affirmed that while the frozen Russian assets remain inaccessible for now, efforts to hold Russia accountable and assist Ukraine will continue unabated. North Korea announced that its missile launches on Wednesday were tests of hypersonic projectiles, signaling a potential advancement in its missile technology. The state media described these tests as crucial for enhancing the country's strategic capabilities amid ongoing tensions in the region. According to reports, the missiles reached hypersonic speeds exceeding Mach 5, which makes them difficult to detect and intercept using current missile defense systems. The North Korean military stated that the tests were aimed at verifying the maneuverability and control of the hypersonic weapons to improve their responsiveness and accuracy. The launches have sparked concern among neighboring countries and the international community, especially South Korea and Japan, which closely monitor North Korean military activities. The United States has called for restraint and urged Pyongyang to engage in diplomatic talks rather than missile testing. Analysts suggest that North Korea's focus on hypersonic technology could escalate regional arms races and alter the strategic dynamics of the Korean peninsula. While Pyongyang claims these tests are defensive, critics warn they increase the risk of miscalculation and confrontation. South Korea's defense ministry reported that the missile tests did not pose an immediate threat, but emphasized the importance of maintaining vigilance. U.S. and allied military forces continue to monitor the situation, advocating for a unified response to North Korea's missile advancements. The development of hypersonic weapons remains a priority for North Korea as it seeks to bolster its military capabilities amid ongoing sanctions and diplomatic challenges. The region awaits further developments with alarms transmitted about future test launches. That is for now. Thank you for listening to 7 Days Report, your reliable source of information from all major news from around the world. I'm your host, Vasilios Nikolaos Vitsilogiannis. Every weekend at 12 and 21, we bring you the latest headlines, in-depth analysis, and insightful commentary on the stories that matter most.